welcome. Today, we'll talk about the Russian and Ukrainian war that has started about 5 days ago and has been continuing ever since. In today's news, the Russian militaries are still trying to advance onto Kiev, as has been reported around the world. They have been trying to advance to Kiev and siege the city of about 3 million people, but they have been prevented by the Ukrainian militaries and the Ukrainian people who have been resisting and trying to protect their city and their country against the Russian aggression. So initially, the Russian president um, reasoned this described that the war was to free the Ukrainian people and the people in the eastern part of Ukraine. But as the war advanced, the reason and justification of the war has been evolving and changing. And right now, in today's meeting between the Russian and the Ukrainians, um, the Russians' request was for Ukraine to stay neutral in the expansion of the NATO towards the Eastern Europe, and also to demilitarize and to stop joining NATO. So the purpose of Russian invasion of Ukraine is not actually to free the people who are on the eastern part of Ukraine, but to stop, to slow down and stop the advancement of NATO towards the Eastern Europe. Um, so, Are they going to achieve that? Are they going to stop the expansion of NATO towards the Eastern Europe, or are they going to fail? We never know. The war is still advancing. The war is still going on. The Russians are hitting schools, hospitals, homes, and without any discrimination. They are hitting the people, and the war is still going on. They have succeeded in capturing some of the southern cities, but they are still facing stiff resistance from the Ukrainian soldiers and the Ukrainian civilians. The civilians have been trying to block their roads and especially to prevent the advancement of the Russian military um, towards their capital, towards Kiev, and every other places around the country. And several thousands, close to millions, have crossed into Poland and other neighboring countries, Romania and the likes. So the war is still going, and we can see some of the. Let me share. This is what the region looks like right now. This is from Reuters graphics. So the Russia is invading from the east side, from the southern side mainly, from north side, but they are also to advance towards the west side. So as we can see, some of the regions such as Crimea um, has been annexed into Russia already, and they want to advance this annexation into the other cities which are on the eastern border of Russia, on the eastern border of Ukraine, and on the western side of Russia. As you can see, some of the cities that has been hard hit are the Kharkiv. This is one of the cities that's hard hit, and the Ukrainians are still trying to protect the city and take over. But I think this is the place, one of the cities, Ukrainian cities that has been hard hit, and they are advancing towards Kiev. They are trying to advance towards Kiev, and in news that has been circulating around today, they are only about 70 miles outside Kiev right now. But the advancement of the Russian convoy has been deterred by the stiff resistance of the Ukrainian armies. But they are still trying to advance and enter Kiev, and we never know how the war is going to advance, whether the Ukrainians will overpower the Russians and take control of their country and repel the Russians out of the Ukraine. I don't think that's going to happen. Probably the Ukrainians need external Europeans and American forces probably on the ground to be able to do that. Or I don't know if the weapons that are being supplied by the United States and European countries will empower the Ukrainians to repel the Russians out of the country. So the time will tell what's going to happen, whether they will be able to subdue the Russians and repel them out, or whether the Russians will overpower the Ukrainians, and the world keeps on watching as cities are turned into rubbles and ruined. So we are going to see what is going to happen in the future. At this moment, there's a continuous war that's going on daily basis, and the Russians don't seem to be advancing as initially. They have been stuck there. As you can see, this satellite image shows several Russian convoys are stuck, and they have not been advancing much since the first few days, and they have been on the road. There are some speculations that they have run out of fuels, food supplies, and the likes, and I don't know why the Ukrainians are not going out onto the field and attacking from the side. But there are also some news that they have been trying to attack them from aerially using drones and the likes. There is also some news that the Ukrainians still have access to their airspace, so they can still inflict some injuries on the Russian military that's trying to advance and infiltrate a lot of the Ukrainian areas. So it's so heartbreaking that a country just out of blue moon starts a war and inflicts pain and endures indiscriminately all the people, including the children. There have been a lot of days and casualties from the Ukrainian side, especially the civilians. They have reported more than 2,000 civilians have already been killed by the Russians, while the Russian government has admitted that about 500 of those troops have so far been killed, and over 10,000 have been injured. But the Ukrainians claim more than 6,000 Russian troops have been killed so far. And today they reported that figure has grown to about 9,000 Russian troops being killed. We never know, and it's not verified. Nobody is able to verify these figures right now. Both sides throw out numbers, but you know, you never know what is happening. It's always and when I think about this war, why would a country that's large and a neighborly country attack another neighborly country without any justification, and try to turn their cities and country into rubble, and try to depose a government, a democratically elected government. So the intention of Russia is now really clear, and I don't know whether they have thought that would be very easy for them to go in and kill a lot of people, destroy their cities, and remove the government and install their own puppet, and who will ignore the West and just join them. And you know as we have seen yesterday, several countries in the United Nations have voted on some kind of sanction against the Russian invasion. But so there has been some resolution that was has been considered yesterday, and only about 5 countries rejected, voted against that resolution, and those countries included Russia itself, North Korea, um, Eritrea, and a couple other, or Syria and the likes. And Ethiopia has not been seen in the lists of countries that voted pro the resolution or against or abstained. I don't know what happened in that case. Um, there might be one of the representatives was not there, but since Eritrea voted against it, my assumption is that if the Ethiopian representative was there, he might have voted pro. I mean, against the resolution, against the sanctions against Russia. So it's a Far East state such as North Korea, Syria, Russia itself, Eritrea. Those are the countries that voted against and rejected the resolution. So that tells us that the world is actually united about the action against Russia's invasion of Ukraine at this point. But would only sanctions deter Russia from attacking civilians and inflicting pain and converting the country into rebel? And so time will tell. At this moment, it doesn't look like there has been much impact, because in today's meeting between the Russian president Vladimir Putin and the French president Emmanuel Macron, the Russian president has been said to have said the worst is yet to come. So there is no anything positive to expect in the coming days. The Russians try to inflict more pain and try to attack more cities aerially, and so we never know. It doesn't seem that the sanctions are having a really an impact at this point to let the Russians change their decision and probably evacuate from Ukraine or stop and negotiate. In today's meeting between the Russians and the Ukrainians, it was said that there might be some positive signs, but the Russians have requested Ukraine want to demilitarize and also to stop joining the NATO. So this is so absurd. Like militarize, and we come and bomb you. And who would say okay to that? I don't know if Ukraine would ever consider that. So it's highly likely that if this war continues and Russians try to advance on Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities, and more civilians are attacked, the world will continue to watch and only rely on sanctions on Russian oligarchies and President Putin and the likes. Probably this might, it doesn't initiate the World War III, because World War III, the World War II and one kind of divided the international the countries across the world into two, at least into two. But in this case, we have only Russia and few other countries backing Russia, while the rest of the world are against it. So I don't know if that will result in a world war, or whether we can call that a world war, even if a war erupts between the world and Russia and its allies. But especially for the European countries and for the US, I think it's good. It's going to be much easier for them to attack and to be on the side of Ukraine. Probably whether they send armies or only rely on arming the Ukrainians themselves. I don't think it's going to be very difficult for them because they, especially for the U.S., it can deploy its army. But for Russia, I don't think they would be able to do the same. They can't attack the U.S. home country because they are already in a war with Ukrainians. They won't have enough forces to send over and attack the US or maybe other European countries. Probably they might try to attack other contiguous European states, but I don't think they would be able to conduct such a massive strikes and war against the Western countries. They might pull the nuclear attacks. They might try to threaten the world by the nuclear attack, but I think the Western countries can they can abort all those kind of intimidations if they start early. So even if the European countries and United States take action on the Russians, I don't think they will be able to mount, something balancing force against the European countries and the US. So I think the Russians are would push this war until the Western countries participate in this war and try to change the balance between the Ukrainians and the Russians. So we never know if this war will stop all of a sudden by Russia accepting that this is unjustified war and has to pull out its armies, or it might end if Russians are defeated and repelled back by the emboldened Ukrainians who are armed from externally as well. It might end if external powers also intervene and fight alongside of the Ukrainians. Anyways, maybe the couple of days ahead of us will tell where this war is going to head. Anyways, I don't think the negotiation that's being tried in Belarus and other countries might stop the war, because what Russia wants and what the Ukrainian wants, they are not gonna. There's no kind of agreement between the two. All of them need the Ukrainians' desire at this point is for Russia to stop the war, to stop bombing their cities and killing people and injuring and destroying hospitals, schools, and the likes. And Russians, it's unjustified. It's unjustified. I don't think they understand. It looks like probably there might be some kind of who is behind this kind of war. Do they have some kind of mental illness? Don't they understand? Don't they feel when the people, when civilians who have no, they are not the ones politically in leadership. All of a sudden, there is a country that's bombing their country, and they are hurt. They are driven out of their homes. Their homes are converted into ruins, and people have to all of a sudden become refugees and relocate to other countries. It's very heartbreaking. Let me try to show if I get some live footages from Ukraine right now. Let me try to share some. As you can see, some farmers are said to have stolen the Russian tanks, and people are trying to fight back. People are taking arms and trying to fight back and move the Russians from their country. As you can see, a farmer today has stolen the Russian tanks, and the Russians as we have seen in the convoys that has been trying to advance towards Kiev. There are like chains of tanks and military um, vehicles trying to move towards the Ukrainian capital, but the advancement has been stopped. It has stopped for days right now. They haven't made any advancement in the last few days, and people are right now they are trying to steal Russian military convoys and try to use against the Russians, as you can see. And this citizens report some farmer has stolen a tank in Ukraine from the Russians, and as you can see, people are running towards the military tank. So it's really heartbreaking. A superpower can attack a country and drive everybody out of their country except the male, the elderly, and those who are unable to relocate to a neighboring country. Um, that's all concerning the Ukraine and Russia war. The United States government is asking for more money to support the Ukrainians. The United States president has today asked for about $10 billion support. Most of that would be spent on military weapons, but also humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. Other countries have been also vigilant, like Sweden, for example. They have noticed, they have seen some Russian uh, aircrafts trying to cross into their airspace, and they have escorted them out of their airspace right now. And so the European countries are right now actively watching what is going on, and it's very hard. None of them have decided to join arms with the Ukrainians, but uh, most of them have also provided some kind of support in terms of weapon, in terms of humanitarian assistance, and welcoming the Ukrainians who have escaped from their own homes. With that, I wrap up the report on the Russia and Ukraine war. Coming back to the Ethiopia today, as you can see, the footage that has that the Vigilant Network has received shows that the Oromo Liberation Army has been um, having an upper hand on the Ethiopian government military. This footage is said to be from Oroguru, Fincha Valley, in Fincha Valley, and this war was conducted yesterday. And in this footage, the Oromo Liberation Army is seen to have killed several of the Ethiopian military, and a lot of them are lying around on the highway. The fighting was live and active, and it looks like the Oromo Liberation Front army, the Oromo Liberation Army, has had an upper hand, killed several of them, and has been confiscating and pounding some of the weapons and military caches, as you can see. And this is it's a developing news, and we will follow up and report on this in future as well. So Horogru is one of the Oromo zones that has been frequently attacked by the Fano Amara extremists who have always, they are attacked, whenever they are attacked by the Oromo Liberation Army, the Fano terrorists go and find an armed other civilians, and they attack their homes, burn homes, kill people, people confiscate their properties and sometimes kidnap them, especially women, and take them to colonial locations and forcibly they leave them. So this has been going on for a while, and it says to me there are a few contingents of the Oromo Liberation Army that is stationed on the Oromo area, but they are very, as you can see, they are very strong, very confident, and they inflict a lot of damage on the Ethiopian military. This has been how the Oromo Liberation Army has been fighting in the west, in the center, in the south. In the south, they have even at some point attacked the military guards of Chimali Sabisa and Abiy Ahmed, the Republican Guard. Um, and and this footage, the armies are heard saying this has been put on its leg, and they have been removing the ammunition and patches of munitions from the enemies at this point. So this has been going on. The Ethiopian military also in the last week tried to capture the Oromo Liberation Army leader unsuccessfully. In the news, the FNN received the Ethiopian military tried especially the ones that are called the Republican Guard, the Republic of Ethiopia, the Democratic Republic of Ethiopian Republican Guard tried to capture Yal Monroe unsuccessfully, and on that war the news that came out of the Western Oromia said that about 21 of the Republican Guard had been killed in the confrontation between the OLA and the Ethiopian military, and some of them have disappeared. Probably they have been kidnapped, they have been taken captive, but some of them have disappeared, and the rest are said to have escaped. And so the Ethiopian government has in recent in the recent past weeks, the Ethiopian Prime Minister has said that his Republican Guard, his military, has been trying and paying heavy sacrifices in the last few years, and so that the Ethiopian Parliament has to support the agenda of declaring war in Oromia and Tigray and the likes. This has been ongoing, but as you can see from the fighting that we saw, several of Ethiopian army has been killed, and right now it's said that the Oromo Liberation Army controls up to 400 cities, as recently confirmed by one of the Ethiopian parliamentarian. So right now, the Oromo Liberation Front Army controls several cities in different parts of the country, and the parliamentarian was here saying that they are collecting taxes from the population, and so they have already established their own government, and they are collecting taxes from the population, and so the parliamentarian, the gentleman, said that at some point they even feared the OLA and the TDF would overrun the Ethiopian capital, and probably if the advancement has not been slowed down, they wouldn't have been in the parliament and discussing about all those issues, while he was justifying the state of emergency has not should not be lifted from, especially from Oromia. So that's all concerning the short report about the war between the Oromo Liberation Army and the Ethiopian dictatorial regime's army. The Abiy regime's war on the Oromos and on the TDF, TPLF seems probably even is giving some kind of an impetus to other countries, an incentive to other countries that it's possible if you are powerful militarily, you can invade a population, and the world just watches it, and you can, you can do whatever you want. That probably might have given even Putin to start this war in Ukraine right now. And we also don't know what the Ethiopian government thinks about the war that's going on between Russia and Ukraine, because the Ethiopian government has not openly come out and you know objected or excommunicated about the war. So I think that the Ethiopian government most likely supports, but it doesn't want to come out and say it, because the most of the global world, and including most of the African countries, have um, called Putin to stop and also support the sanctions that are being imposed on the Putin's government. Putin has been in power for more than 20 years, and a lot of his own people rallied and protested against the war. So as we observe what is happening worldwide, it's unfathomable that the war is being waged in Ukraine. The Ukrainian people are fleeing for their lives amidst bombs, leaving behind husbands, fathers, brothers, sons to fight for their country. Mother, children, and the elderly are crossing into neighboring countries as refugees. Some of the elderly who have survived the horror of the Holocaust are once again fleeing for their lives at the hands of the Russian dictator. The bombs fall with no respect to who is in the past, hitting apartment buildings, schools, and hospitals. It's unclear how many casualties there are, as the number is growing on daily basis. We have seen the about 17-mile Russian convoy that has been attempting to advance through the eastern Ukraine towards Kiev to inflict more damage and turn the city of nearly 3 million population into rubble, and subdue the Ukrainians in their own country. So at last count, about 5,500 Russians have been said to have been arrested by their own government for protesting the war. And among those detained are children who are currently behind bars for holding signs and peaceful protests. Meanwhile, several countries stand in solidarity, putting sanctions on Russia, those closest to and those oligarchies that who are closest to Putin. In the U.S., we see the effect of these sanctions in the forms of high gas prices, but it's for us it's very small price to pay to slow the carnage of the war in Ukraine. So at the Finland News Network, we will continue to look at what is going on in the world. We'll try to update our viewers about the war that's going on in Ukraine. We'll also follow up with if the negotiations between the Ukrainians and Russians will bear fruits and they stop the war. Hopefully they would. Hopefully they'll come back to their mind. The Russians will come back to their mind. They will leave other people's country and go back to their own country, and also listen to what the world is saying. The world is right now singing in unison and telling Putin to stop the war, go back to his own country. And another news that we received today was that the International Criminal Court of Justice has started investigation into the war that's being conducted in Ukraine, whether there has been some kind of war crime that has happened. Obviously, there is a war crime when you hit civilians, when you kill civilians, children, the elderly, when you bomb monuments that has been erected for the commemoration of those who have been attacked during the Holocaust. All these are crimes, and it should be investigated. It should be those who are responsible in Russia should be held accountable, in my opinion. So it's obvious that in the end somebody will be, somebody will be called. And Putin is obviously one of the main people, in the Russian foreign minister Lavrov. He's one of the other, and also some of the Russian oligarchies are said to be behind and always supporting the Russian foreign policies, and in this case, most likely they are supporting this war as well. So the sanctions in the U.S. and elsewhere are targeted towards those people, and I think if criminal court investigation is opened, probably some of those people might also be, included in the investigation. With that, the UN is also said to have nominated 3 people today to investigate into crimes that has been committed in Ethiopia, especially in the Tigray region. But in Ethiopia, crimes have been being committed by the Ethiopian government on daily basis, especially in the Oromia region and in the Tigray region. I don't know why the UN at this moment is no including Oromia in the places that have to be investigated. I think the Oromos have to do something to, bring attention of the United Nations towards the Oromia as well. Crimes are being committed by the government affiliated Fano terrorists, by the Amara paramilitaries and militias, by Eritrean troops that are stationed in Oromia and in different parts of Ethiopia. Right now, there are war crimes being committed. There are crimes being committed. There's genocide that's being taking place in Oromia. Several people, including siblings, have been killed by the Ethiopian government in central Oromia, in Western Oromia, especially in Horro Guduru, in Jardaga Jarte, and other nearby places. So I believe that the UN investigation, international independent investigation into the crimes being committed in Ethiopia in the Tigray region, has also should be expanded into Oromia. It should also include Oromia in the investigation, and bring those perpetrators into justice, and hold the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, and his colleagues who are behind the civilian killings, civilian, targeted assassinations, accountable. Hopefully, they will not escape. Anyways, whether they kill people in Oromia or in Tigray, they will at the end be held accountable. Someone will be named in Ethiopia, and it begins with Abiy Ahmed, and Brano Jula, and all the rest who have been waging war in Tigray and in Oromia. So that's all for today. As always, we'll continue to update you on the news around the world and in Oromia. This has been Finfinity News Network. Thank you for watching.